Welcome back to Project Bodybuilding, and today we will be recapping the 2023 Chicago Pro Open Division. Out of all the shows so far this season, I thought that this lineup was the best and the most competitive, which of course made for a pretty good show. Everyone in the top 5 had a recognizable name, some guys were making their pro debuts, some guys were having comebacks. All in all, it was a very exciting show. So let's get right into it. I don't really think there's any need for any long intro. Let's just go ahead and start breaking down the 2023 Chicago Pro Open Division. And if you guys like these types of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe because I cover all of the major pro shows. Alright, so I'm only going to break down the top 5 at the show to keep this video brief. I'll break down how each guy looked, of course, and then we'll get into how the season may turn out for them and what their future holds. So, starting with 5th place, we had Patrick Moore. Now, Patrick took a lot of time off and then came back to the Arnold earlier this year, placing dead last. He did tear his Achilles in this time off, and you can just tell the legs are really downsized. And really, he just hasn't improved anywhere, not just the legs. He has the lines, he just doesn't have the size. Now, he was going to do the Orlando Pro, but backed out and ended up doing this show for whatever reason. And honestly, in this kind of a lineup at this point in his career, I think this top 5 finish is pretty good for him. Now, his nickname is the Future, but at this point, he is 40 years old and he is barely just the present. Like I said, we've wanted to see him improve and add size for years, and if he's not going to step it up and actually do that, he's going to very quickly become the past. And then, in a surprising 4th place finish, we had Blessing Awudibu. Let's just be upfront about this, he shit the bed. And I saw this going one of two ways. We get an Indy Pro or New York Pro version of Blessing last year, and he puts up a very good fight against Justin and maybe even wins. Or I thought we may get an Olympia version, and he absolutely fucking bombs. And it turns out he was probably even worse than the Olympia. Now, part of this is probably because he did self-coach himself for this one. He's not working with George Farah anymore, he's not working with anyone anymore currently. Although after this show, he is now looking for a coach. Now, I don't like Blessing, I'll be upfront about that, but I definitely could have seen a very possible scenario where he won this show. He's taller than Justin, he's a lot bigger than Justin, he just needed to bring a good version of himself, but he just couldn't do it. And with him self-coaching himself, he has no one else to blame but himself, so let's hear it from the horse's mouth and listen to his poetic and thoughtful insight.
Damn! That was not the result that we wanted. But you know, shit. Right now, I don't know. But I know one thing though, because I do know.
Okay then. Anyway, he was so bad, I think there's a solid argument for Patrick placing above him, and personally, that's what I would have had if I were the judge. Now, Blessing will be doing Tampa and Texas as well, but is he going to beat Hunter at either show? And Carlos and Andrew also at Texas? No. Even if he brought his best physique, Hunter and Carlos and Andrew are some amazing bodybuilders. And if he doesn't do a show after those ones, he's probably not going to make it to the Olympia. And honestly, if he keeps bringing packages in like this, he doesn't deserve to be at the Olympia stage anyway. Moving on to 3rd place, we have Stanimal, and really, I guess I can't say too much about him, it's just he's very consistent. This is the 3rd time we've seen him this year, and he was just the most shredded guy in Vancouver last weekend before the Chicago Pro, and again, he was the most shredded guy here. So he's consistent, and he's always shredded, but he just needs some more size. But you guys gotta remember, he's coming from classic physique, and honestly, this package was very, very good. In fact, he only placed 1 point behind John De La Rosa, who placed 2nd, which I think is a little odd, but I mean, hey, that's what the judges saw. Overall, I really don't know what Stanimal's game plan is. I don't think he's going to be able to qualify for the Olympia, especially since we don't do points anymore and we don't have someone qualifying off of doing a lot of shows. That would be a case for Stanimal getting there, but since we're not doing that this year, I don't really think he has too much of a pathway forward. If I were him, I'd maybe compete a couple more times because I think he likes competing, and if you can rack up a little bit of prize money here and there, why not? But I would just take a long off season after that and try to come back next year. And your runner-up for the 2023 Chicago Pro was John De La Rosa. So this was John's comeback. His last show was all the way back in 2020 where he placed 3rd at the New York Pro. And he was added to this list last minute, but I knew immediately he was a dark horse, and I knew that there was a very good chance that he could win the entire show. And honestly, even after the results were called, some people still had John winning. Definitely not the majority of people, not really too many people at all, and it definitely wasn't a robbery per se, but there is a pretty big percentage of people that think maybe John should have pulled this off. And I do have my thoughts on this. I think that John was the best bodybuilder on stage, meaning the most muscular, the most complete, etc. He looked more like a bodybuilder. But the judges liked Justin's physique better. It was a little bit more aesthetic and he had great lines. The best bodybuilder doesn't always win shows, and having the best physique is very subjective. This was a very good comeback though. From taking 3 years off and also suffering a bicep tear in that time to top 2 in a pro show is a great accomplishment. Now, if I were John, I would just consider this show a warm-up. You know, shaking a little bit of the dust off, shaking a little bit of that rust off, and he hasn't peaked in years. So, consider it a warm-up and go to Tampa. That's exactly what I would do. I would take Hunter on in Tampa, and I think those guys can stack up really well with each other. And honestly, I think that'd be a great show. So, congrats to John on a good comeback, and he showed all of us that he still has a little bit of gas left in the tank. And the man of the evening, it was Justin Shire winning the entirety of the Chicago Pro. Not only did he just win the Chicago Pro, but this was his pro debut, meaning his first ever pro show, and he takes the dub with a perfect score. So how did Justin look? Honestly, like I said before earlier, he has a great physique, and I think this is a welcome addition to the IFBB. Really, he's just pure aesthetics. He doesn't have too much mass yet, and we'll get to that in a second, but these lines are just crazy. Now, I do think he spilled over just a little bit in his peak, and I would have liked to see him a bit sharper, but this absolute dog shit lighting that the Chicago Pro had wasn't doing anybody any favors. So other than that little bit of a peaking issue, I think the main flaw with Justin's physique is size. I think in certain areas, the improvement that he made from 2021 to the 2023 season was pretty clear. Mainly in the back, there's a good amount of difference there. But overall, I wanted to see more improvement and more size gained everywhere in his physique, especially since he took over a year-long offseason. And yes, like I said earlier, he also wasn't the biggest guy on stage nor the most shredded. The biggest guy on stage was John De La Rosa, and the most shredded was Stanimal. But Justin brought a very good combination, and his lines really carried him here. So he's qualified for the Olympia now, and what are his prospects there? Honestly, I think on the outskirts. Definitely not top 6 and probably not top 10 this year. Right now, he's just a little too small. And on the Olympia stage, not just a smaller pro show, that's going to get even more exposed. In the future though, if he can put on some more size, his lines with that added size will be an absolutely deadly combination. Matt Jansen, his coach, just needs to mutate him like he did with Nick Walker. And that was my recap of the 2023 Chicago Pro. This was probably one of the best shows we've had so far this season. In my opinion, it was certainly the thickest lineup we've had so far. And really, I see this as the jumping off point for the rest of the season. We've had maybe 1 or 2 good guys show up at some of these pro shows, but now we're going to have a lot more competitive lineups a lot more frequently. We still have the Tampa Pro, the Legion Show, the Europa Pro, and the Italy Pro, and of course the Texas Pro, which will probably be the most exciting pro show of the year. And then before you know it, it will be Olympia time. So of course, congratulations to all of these guys, especially Justin Shire for winning his pro debut and his Olympia ticket, his first ever try. That's going to do it for me in today's video. And if you guys like these recaps, make sure you like and subscribe so that way you never miss one of these. Like I said, the season's really heating up, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss this video and other bodybuilding content. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.